I've been driving this night route for years, navigating the lonely highways with only my headlights and the hum of the engine as company. But tonight was different. As I approached the desolate stretch of road known as Dead Man's Curve, a chill ran down my spine. The night was unusually dark, the clouds obscuring the moon's glow. As I rounded the bend, my headlights illuminated a figure standing in the middle of the road, its back to me. I slammed on the brakes, barely avoiding a horrific collision. As I got out to confront the stranger, something was amiss. He didn't move, didn't seem to notice me. I cautiously circled him, but he remained motionless. A closer look revealed his face, contorted in an expression of terror and disbelief, his eyes wide and staring into the void. A sharp intake of breath escaped me as I noticed something around his neck, a thin silver wire cutting into his flesh. He had been strangled. The sight of it sent a wave of nausea coursing through me. Just then, a flicker of movement caught my eye. A pair of headlights appeared in the distance, approaching rapidly. As they passed, I caught a glimpse of two men inside, their eyes cold and sinister. I knew I had to flee. I ran to my truck, the sound of pursuit echoing behind me. Adrenaline surged through my body as I careened down the highway, desperate to escape my mysterious tormentors. But they were relentless, their headlights closing in, inches away from my rear. As I approached another bend, I realized I was being forced off the road. With a sickening thud, my truck plunged into the darkness below, tumbling end over end. As the truck came to a stop, I felt only pain and darkness. I knew I had survived the crash, but I had no way of contacting help. I lay there helpless, listening to the sound of my pursuer's footsteps approaching. Then silence. As the hours turned into days, I remained trapped in the wreckage, slowly dying. With each passing moment, the fear grew stronger, consuming me entirely. And as the final darkness approached, I knew I would never escape the chilling legacy of that fateful night drive. And so, this is my final transmission. As a warning to all who dare to venture the roads at night, be wary of the strangers who lurk in the shadows. For in the darkness, danger hides, and it will find you when you least expect it. It was a chilly December night when I found myself driving home from the hospital after visiting my sick grandmother. The night was dark, and the air was crisp, and the roads were mostly empty. I had the radio on low, listening to some soft music to keep me company. As I drove down the familiar road, I couldn't help but think about my grandmother. She had been so sick lately, and I was worried about her. I hoped that she would get better soon. I smiled because I knew that she would want me to be happy, even though she was sick. I turned up the radio a little bit and started to sing along to the song that was playing. I was so engrossed in my music that I didn't notice the car behind me at first. When I finally did, it was too late. The car sped up and pulled up beside me. I looked over, and my heart skipped a beat. The driver was a man, and he had a strange look on his face. His eyes were dark and piercing, and he had a cruel smile on his lips. I felt a chill run down my spine. The man leaned over and rolled down his window. He looked at me and said, "Can I help you?" I shook my head and said, "No, I'm fine." The man smiled again. "Are you sure?" he asked. "You look like you could use some help." I didn't know what to say. I just stared at him. The man leaned even closer. "I can help you," he said. "I can make all your troubles go away." I felt a wave of panic wash over me. I knew that I had to get away from this man. I put my car in drive and hit the gas. The man's car sped up too, and he stayed right beside me. He was laughing now, and his laughter was cold and cruel. I don't know how long we drove like that. All I could think about was getting away from the man. I pressed down on the gas pedal, but my car couldn't go any faster. Suddenly, the man's car pulled ahead of me, and I saw him slow down. I slammed on my brakes, but it was too late. I hit the back of his car. My airbag deployed and I blacked out. When I woke up, I was in the hospital. I had a headache and my body was sore, but I was alive. I looked around the room and I saw my parents sitting next to my bed. They were both crying. I asked them what had happened, and they told me that I had been in a car accident. The man had fled the scene, which was why I wasn't prepared during the crash because I never saw his car coming at me. It was too fast. Police were searching for him, but they hadn't found him yet. I was lucky to be alive. As I lay in that hospital bed, I couldn't help but think about the man. Who was he? Why had he tried to hurt me? I didn't know, and I probably never would. But I knew one thing: I would never forget that night. The night drive home from the hospital. Through the shrouded night, I embark on a solitary drive when the unexpected unfurls before me. As I cruise along the moonless road, I notice a figure lurking in the shadows. Dressed in disheveled clothing, his countenance obscured, he resembled a scarecrow come to life. Driven by curiosity, I slow down, my heart pounding against my ribs. As if sensing my presence, he turns towards me, his eyes blazing an eerie fire in the darkness. A shiver courses down my spine as I realize the look in his eyes, a primal hunger that sends shivers down my spine. He makes no attempt to hide his approach, his footsteps heavy and deliberate. Fear gnaws at me, urging me to flee, but an inexplicable force holds me captive. As he draws closer, I can smell the pungent odor of decay. His clothes are torn and stained with something dark and unidentifiable. Panic surges through me as he reaches my car, his mouth contorted into a grotesque rictus. He opens his mouth and utters a single, horrific word that freezes the blood in my veins. You. His voice is hollow and guttural, as if it comes from beyond the grave. The horror etched into his features sends a shockwave through my body. I try to scream, but my voice is stolen from me. A cold, clammy hand reaches through my open window, its touch like the grip of death. He pulls me out of the car, his strength effortless. Fear paralyzes me as he drags me into the shadows. The darkness envelopes me like a suffocating blanket. I feel his breath on my neck, hot and fetid. He whispers something in my ear, but the words are incomprehensible. Then, I'm enveloped in an embrace that crushes my bones. I struggle against his grip, but my resistance is futile. As his cold, lifeless lips press against mine, I hear his voice one last time, clear and chilling. "You made me." The words send a jolt through my numbed body. A realization dawns upon me, a horrifying truth that shatters my sanity. I am the creator of this monstrous being, responsible for the nightmare that now consumes me. The darkness swallows me whole, and with my dying breath, I whisper a solitary word, my voice lost in the abyss.
No.